My name is Fernandez. I'm a photographer and videographer here in New York City, but I'm born and raised in Miami, and if you're an OG of the channel, I used to shoot in Miami. I fell in love with photography while in Miami. I used to shoot a lot of landscapes, urban landscapes, a little bit of street kind of, cars, portraits, you name it. But since moving to New York City, I have developed a brand new style of photography that is very New York-esque and, New York street photography. And so I wanted to sort of take everything I've learned in this new perspective and new style of shooting to my recent trip back home to Miami. Every single time I go back to Miami, I do shoot very casually, but I'm never very intentional. And I normally don't like to be super intentional when I go out and shoot. I kind of just go out and go with the flow. But this time around, I kind of wanted to push myself to document and photograph my vision of Miami with this new New York City perspective. So spoiler alert, there's not really a single photo that I took while shooting in Miami that I felt like accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. But regardless, I've been procrastinating making this video because I'm not sure if I wanted to share these photos, but decided that I'm gonna do it anyways and get this video out. I'm gonna not bore you and just jump straight into the video. Pretty much after binge eating Cuban food and spending time with family and friends and doing some remote editing work, I was able to get a few days of shooting in Miami. So these are gonna be 3 separate occasions, 3 separate days of shooting, both in Miami, in my neighborhood, at my house, and at nighttime. So enjoy the video. Let me know what you think of the photos down below. And let me know what you think about this style of video. I think this is gonna be a little different than what I usually do. So yeah, enjoy it. And of course, in classic Miami fashion, the first day that I decided to go out, the weather said it was gonna be okay, the weather app, and then I get out there to downtown and it's just cloudy and muggy. Which isn't just only an issue for lighting's sake, but also an issue because in Miami, people don't walk around like they do here in New York City. And so when it rains specifically, there's literally going to be almost nobody on the street. One of my worries with shooting in Miami, especially with the intention of shooting like my New York style, was not only that I was gonna fail, but I was gonna revert back to the way I used to shoot in Miami. And these first couple photos is exactly that. Because of the rain, I decided to compromise and go to this mall called Bayside, which is like this really touristy mall in downtown, which, usually I would never go to as like a local, but there's nobody on the streets. And I knew there's gonna be very little people on the streets of downtown. And so I decided to go to this mall where I knew there was some coverage and there's probably going to be at least some tourists around. And I'm continuing just to take photos that I'm not really sure why I took. This set of photos, again, in my opinion, not really accomplishing what I wanted to accomplish. Resorting back to just taking landscape photos, and then I took 2 photos of what I thought was pretty funny, but looking back on it, it's kind of like stupid, with the please don't litter sign and then just a bunch of beer cans and bottles. And in classic Miami fashion, it has started raining. And it was raining while I was shooting, but it was just like drizzling. But I really don't know, but I'm pretty sure most 35mm cameras aren't very weather sealed. I know for a fact this one definitely probably isn't very weather sealed, so I'm not trying to risk it. But I think I'm gonna hang out. I'm back in my car. I'm gonna hang out here for another like 20 minutes and kind of see what's happening on the radar and kind of see what ends up happening with this rain. I didn't like a single photo that I took, I'm pretty sure. And I was taking a few landscapes and a few like urban landscapes and stuff like that, which I haven't done in a while. But I like forget how empty the streets are of Miami compared to New York. Like there's really not that many people around at all. Hopefully whatever, we'll see. Again, I'm not trying to put too much pressure on myself, but I do want to come away with like a couple of good photos, but don't think I found it just quite yet. This is one of the photos of the trip that I do like. I did try to get a photo of them up close and they were not happy, and so I didn't take the photo, and I kind of wish I would have just taken it. But I was able to still, kind of go to the other side of the dock and take a photo with them in frame. It is a little bit of an awkward frame, but I still think it's interesting, and I think the colors are nice. Which I took more photos of their boat, which I think these photos also came out looking pretty good. Finished my first roll of film. Honestly went better than I thought it was gonna go when I got over here. I was kind of disappointed earlier with the rain, but feeling pretty good. My subject today was boats, apparently. We shot a shit ton of boats, but still pretty good. Day's turning out pretty nice. So I don't know. We'll see how this roll goes. I'm hot as kind of forget how humid it is in Miami whenever I come. So gonna kind of stick around this area, put in another roll of Portra 400. And I kind of wish I had Portra 800 today, but only Portra 400. We're going to just see how the rest of the day goes. Predictably, I failed that first day of shooting at, shooting street photography in Miami. The photos are nice. I will put on the screen the photos I did like. I ended up just shooting a lot of boats. So something I regret not doing when I lived in Miami and got into photography was sort of photographing my home and photographing my neighborhood, and that's something I decided to do this day. And so it's not necessarily the same style of street photography that I'm doing here in New York City, but this day of photos does turn out a little bit better. I'm still shooting Portra 400 here, and this photo I like the mood, I like the layers, and I like the screen porch. I like the screen that had just recently fallen at the top of the frame, and I like the basketball hoop with the basketball inside of the screen porch. And I don't know, something about this photo, the layers and like kind of the contrast in mood and the colors kind of all came together really well in my opinion. I also like this photo for similar reasons. I like the layers, I like the colors of the pool, the trees, the beach ball, the sort of, you can kind of tell the patina and weathering on the white light post. These photos kind of suck, just like generic landscape photos of the lake I live on, but I guess they're cool. So after shooting these photos on the front of my house, I decided that I was going to take a walk around the neighborhood, and more so take a walk across the street to the park that I grew up playing in and the school that I went to for elementary school. I think these photos may have no significance right now, but I think down the line in the future, who knows what's going to happen to the school. My neighborhood's already being developed compared to, when it was when I was a kid. And so I think some of these photos can just have significance longer, down the line as like a document of what this school and park looks like back in the day. Which is something I've spoken about in the past, but I do encourage you, if you want to do street photography, but you don't live in a big city or anything like that, and you live in like a small neighborhood or a small town, you should still go out and do quote-unquote street photography and just document your life in your neighborhood. Even if you're not taking photos of people all the time, I still think photos like these are still very important. That's it for that day of shooting in my house and in my neighborhood. Again, I don't necessarily think they're street photography portfolio pieces or anything like that, but there are photos here that I am happy with, and I am, happy to put into a portfolio aside from my street photography work. When I first got into photography, if you've been following me for a while, or if you go back on my Instagram, you'll know that I shot a lot of night photography. I used to love doing long exposures. It's kind of how I first learned how to shoot manual, and I loved going around the city late at night and doing like urban landscapes and getting long exposures of light, like cars and light trails and all that stuff. And so I kind of wanted to go back and do that a little bit, and I knew this night I wasn't going to be really making photos of any people, more so just taking photos of the city at night. So after our game of pickleball and getting attacked by some ducklings and ducks, I took a few more photos, and one of them I actually liked a little bit. Something I've noticed with film is it is able to capture a sort of feeling sometimes that I feel like I don't ever get to capture on digital, and usually with digital I have to edit it to get a certain feeling that I want. But this photo is a good example of a photo I took super quick. I was leaving the parking lot, my windows rolled down, and I saw the light hitting this dumpster, and I took the photo, and I love the way this photo makes me feel. It's dark, it's kind of horror film-like, and besides that, it's a boring photo, but it just kind of makes me feel a certain way, and I think I personally like it a lot. So it was pretty late at this point. It was like 11 p.m. and I decided to go warm up at one of the most basic photo spots in all of Miami, in Key Biscayne, where you get a view of the Brickell skyline. And this is kind of where I shot like the first photos of my photography career. So every once in a while I do like going back here just to kind of hang out and take some photos. So this is where I must put a trigger warning and disclaimer that if you are someone who hates the way the halations look from Sinister 800T, you may want to skip ahead a few photos because holy shit, is this a lot of halation. These are photos of the Freedom Tower, which is a pretty important building in Miami, very classic building in Miami, and the halation coming off of the red top of this building makes it feel very horror film-like. I think it's a little bit too intense, but I do think out of all these photos, this photo is probably my favorite, just because I did get the light trails from the cars, which I know a lot of people hate. I personally still think it's fun to do, and I don't think this is a great photo by any means. So for the last set of photos for the night, the last location, I decided to go to an area that's called a MIMO. I don't know what the abbreviation is for, but it's pretty much an area where there's like post-World War II architecture hotels and homes. And a lot of the hotels in this area are kind of like very, like they're shitty motels, but they have like really cool neon like aesthetics. So obviously I wanted to shoot that on 800T, and I was actually pretty excited for this shoot. And honestly, I think these are the best photos that I took. Maybe not for the trip, but definitely for this night. These are my favorite photos. This photo of the Sinbad Motel is probably my favorite photo of the trip. Definitely my favorite photo that I took this night. And this is one of those photos where sometimes stuff just doesn't come together the way you want it to come together. And I am going to absolutely blame the black Mustang in this frame for making this photo not good. I think this photo is really close to being good. I think the contrast of the blue and yellow works really well, and the green sign on top and the sort of painterly aesthetic you get from looking into this window of the hotel lobby, and the rest of the windows are closed. And you kind of have these silhouettes of the plants. I think this photo is really interesting, but then you just have this eyesore of a car right smack dab in the middle of the frame. So obviously I have to ask myself whether I think I accomplished my goal on this trip to Miami. And overall, I would have to say no. My goal was definitely to get more New York style photos and to kind of shoot in a more, a style that I shoot now, which is, walking the streets and getting close to people, interacting with people, and documenting life. And instead, I kind of resorted back to my old ways of shooting landscapes and just shooting random things in Miami that don't necessarily involve people. But I also think that there has been a shift in my style over the years, and I think I'm very happy with the photos I took on this trip to Miami for the most part. And not to mention, this is also my first time shooting Miami on film, which is still something I'm learning. And so this was a great learning experience for me, shooting outside of New York on film and shooting landscapes and stuff like that on film. And overall, I think the photos I took on this trip to Miami show a good evolution of how I used to shoot to now. And so I am happy with that. I'm also happy that I shot around my house and around my neighborhood, because if I didn't do that now, who knows when I would have done it, and I wish I would have done it sooner. But those are just kind of photos that are good for my personal keepsakes and memories, which at the end of the day, the most important thing, at least to me, when shooting photos, it's all about documenting memories and documenting life. And I feel like those photos did a good job of documenting my home and as well documenting my neighborhood and park that I grew up going to. I think this video and this photo series or whatever week shooting in Miami is sparking two separate things in me creatively. And I think the first thing is I definitely want to do a long-term project of going back to Miami whenever I visit and shooting photos and kind of building some long-term body of work in Miami with this new New York perspective. And I think it also piqued my interest again in shooting night photography, and especially Miami, where it gets so quiet past like 11 p.m. at night and you're pretty much out alone. I think it's something I want to experiment with a little bit more in New York City. And so overall, while I am not super happy with the photos I took because I had these previous expectations for myself, I am still happy with the photos I took overall, and I think it's pushing me to work on two, new projects potentially that I want to explore a little more. And so I did feel inspired and motivated. With that being said, I am going to end the video here. Please let me know down below which is your favorite photo, which is your least favorite photo, and just let me know what you think overall about this video. I think I haven't done like a voiceover travel video like this ever, and so I'm debating whether I want to continue to do stuff like this whenever I, shoot photos and whatnot. So just let me know what you think, and I will see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.